Hi, my name is Elijah Coleman, and I did my case on the Gideon versus Wainwright case. And here's my student ID. Okay, so with the Gideon versus Wainwright trace, just to give you a little bit of background on him, Clarence Gideon, he was a soon-to-be hero. He was a man with an 8th grade education. Clarence decided to run away from home when he was just in middle school. He spent most of his life as a drifter, spending his time in and out of prison for non-violent crimes. So, to go directly inside of the case, the Gideon versus Wainwright case was in 1963. The Supreme Court had ruled that the Constitution required states to provide defense attorneys to criminals with serious offenses who could not afford lawyers themselves. It began in 1961 when a man named Clarence Gideon was in Panama City, Florida for breaking and entering and stealing money from the pool halls machine. He was arrested. And then when he got to trial, Gideon, he could not afford a lawyer himself. He asked to have an attorney represent himself, so he represented himself. He was told by the judge that Florida only provided attorneys to defendants whose crimes might result in the death penalty. And there's a picture right there of Clarence Gideon. It's like kind of a cartoon. So let's see. And so during the trial, Gideon, he represented himself, making his open statement to the jury. He cross-examined the prosecutor's witnesses. He presented witnesses in his own defense. He declared to testify himself and make arguments emphasizing that he was innocent. And even after all of this, he was still sentenced to 5 years in prison. Okay. The court ruled that the Sixth Amendment gives the defendant the right to counsel in criminal trials, where if the defendant is charged with a serious offense, even if they cannot afford one themselves. The Sixth Amendment also stated that in all criminal prosecutors that are accused, the accused shall enjoy the right to have an attorney of counsel for his defense. The court went as far as ruling the Sixth Amendment, requiring that all states to provide defense attorneys to any indigent criminal defendant charged with a felony of more than 1 year. And here's just a little background on the case, a little bit more facts. Basically, the case was argued January 15th in 1963. Clarence Gideon versus the Wainwright case, he was charged in a Florida state court with a felony for breaking and entering. When he requested the court to appoint an attorney for him, the court refused, stating that it was only obligated to appoint counsel that probably stick in defendants in the capital cases. He was convicted by jury, and the court sentenced him to 5 years in prison, as I just stated. So let's see. And here's a picture right here of Gideon. He's attempting to defend himself when he was not appointed a lawyer. And here's a little bit more background on the Sixth Amendment. Okay, so the Sixth Amendment, the Supreme Court voted unanimously in Gideon's favor. The court concluded that the Sixth Amendment guarantee of a right to an attorney was required for a fair trial in both the state and the federal criminal judicial systems. In all criminal cases, states must provide lawyers to the defendants. Right here is a picture of Gideon, his mugshot when he was arrested for breaking and entering and stealing. And right here is kind of like a cartoon article, basically stating that he's kind of like a hero. He proved that one man can make a difference, how he changed the law, and how he'll always be remembered many years later. I basically chose this case because I wanted to show that many people who can't afford a lawyer themselves, that they can have money to afford a lawyer. Also, I really didn't kind of have knowledge on this case, so with me knowing more about it, it was kind of good to know. I also wanted to see why people who are sent to jail are automatically assigned an attorney. I think that Gideon's case was pretty much, it helped people in today's society, and it gives them the opportunity to be provided with a lawyer if they aren't already provided with a lawyer because they cannot afford one. Me, myself, personally, I know a lot of people who can't afford an attorney themselves, so I think if they were themselves to read and analyze this case, many people, they would appreciate the right to have an attorney. And so also here's a statue that he was presented with. It has all the things about the case on here, the Gideon versus Wainwright case, and that's him before he died by the statue. And in the end of all of this, I think the main thing is so that we all can have lawyers ourselves if we are put in that position to end up going to jail and have to, have an attorney to represent us. And so, this is my case. Thank you for listening.